I do Shiv sadhana. And from all my years of martial arts, which would be collectively 36, I had my own camp in Thailand. I was one of the few people, foreigners, that taught Thai people Muay Thai. Then I trained with the best kickboxer in the world. I was his best student, Manson Gibson. And I realized from martial arts that it's not really about the style of martial arts, it's about the individual. And that was my first initiation into spirituality, because I found out for something I needed. I didn't go in pursuit of spirituality. I found spirituality in what I was doing. And then that changed my life. So I could use spirituality in what I applied. So it wasn't like there was no years of andhashraddha for me. Everything was applied spirituality. And then when I came to India, I ventured inside myself, and then things changed. So that I would like to share with the world, that knowledge.
But how did this, were you always spiritual? You always were inclined towards sadhana and like that? Or you earlier, maybe you were Nastik or something, you didn't believe in God, and then later on, how is that journey or becoming Guru means you are already in a position to teach others, right? So how does you yourself came to know about all of this?
I have always known me. I just didn't know the world, So now I live in a world where it's the other way around. People know the world more than they know themselves. When I was born, I was very connected to myself because I was an only child and I grew up in Dubai. It was very conducive to be me and me all the time. So the conversation between me and me has always been very strong.
Okay, Har Har Mahadev. Who is Kartikeya? He's son of the Shiva means what? What is the concept of sun in itself means? Something is part of it. That is sun, no?
The first physical manifestation of the formless Shiva. The first physical manifestation of the formless Shiva. So he's known as Kundalishwar, born with his Kundalini awakened. And he's also the god of war. And he's also the Dev Senapati. So he has all the weapons of all the gods and goddesses, all of them. So I've never really had a fascination for...
What is the story of Kartikeya generally?
Story.
Can you summarize it in
See, there are many stories of Kartikeya from north to south, but the important part is he was born of all the mighty strength, Shaktis. Ganga is involved in his birth. Agni is involved in his birth. 6 Kritikas are involved in his birth. And Adi Parashakti herself. So he is considered the most powerful and the Adi Siddha, first Siddha. That's who Kartikeya is.
No, what was his life like? In the Purana, there's a Skanda Purana, no?
Yeah, his life was like any warrior. It's a bit of a tragedy. The beginnings are never easy for a Yodha. That's how you become a Yodha. You're chosen. You don't choose to become that. You're chosen. Life chooses you and makes you one. Nobody wants to go through hell to become a Yodha. So Kartikeya's life has always been about sacrifice and not getting enough love.
That story is very famous, no? The Ganesha one, Ganesha. That story I knew. So are there more stories like that?
Yeah, most of the stories are getting the short end of the stick.
Like what?
Yeah, most of it. Because a Yodha's life typically is for other people. There's a difference between a fighter and a Yodha. A Yodha fights for other people. A fighter fights for himself. So nowadays you have fighters, not Yodhas.
What is the difference between Kartikeya and Ganesh?
There is no difference in my opinion. The only difference is the stories. Because you do not get Buddhi, Riddhi and Siddhi without your Kundalini.
What are the name of the wives of Kartikeya?
Wale and Devayani.
Wale and Devayani. And Ganesha's wife were?
Riddhi, Siddhi.
Riddhi, Siddhi. Both are two, huh? Har Har Mahadev. Har Har Mahadev. Namo Parvati Pate. Har Har Mahadev. So let's tackle this thing, like what is like violence and non-violence, and how, what is a dharma fight, or is there anything like a fighting with the dharma, or you understand, like I am asking you because you have gone through so much in your life, like you can tell that also, like you learned fighting, or like what is the difference between fighting and violence? Like somebody is wo jhagadalu hai, like he is like that, or somebody like a bit like some kind of like don. What is the difference between that, and what is the difference between like how yodha you are trying to make, like?
See, when you try to establish yourself somewhere using power, that's violence from a position of advantage. All forms of that is violence. Right now, India is not really a violent country compared to the countries I've been in, I've raised in like US and all that. And it's good. So when people try to promote MMA, I'm not for it, because I don't want them to look up to some random person who can fight for marital advice or educational advice. The wrong people are influencing people. It's okay to see it as a sport for people who don't want to have a normal life, because you cannot have a normal life if you train for MMA for a long time. So it's not that you can be a warrior, you can be a good father, you can be, no. Once you fight for money, you have degraded your soul. If you fight for a cause, now you're a yodha. When you fight for money, you're a fighter.
Fighting for a cause, that is yodha, and fighting for a money is
A fighter.
just fighter.
A prize fighter.
So basically, fighting for a cause upgrades you from fighter to yodha.
Yeah, it's like a
Cause is the basically what you need to add.
I've trained many world champions, and I don't consider them my shishyas. I consider them sadhakas who learned for a cause. It's sakam bhakti. I prefer students who have nishkam bhakti. That's the difference.
What is the difference? Sakam bhakti and nishkam bhakti.
Sakam bhakti is when your prayers or your sadhana has a motive. Nishkam bhakti is when you're basically like Nandishwar. Shiv Sannidhi is the only thing you require. So you just focus on consciousness and completely blank everything out.
योद्धा एंड ए फाइटर. फाइटर को हिंदी में क्या बोलेंगे?
पैसे के लिए लड़ने वाला.
नहीं ऐसा शब्द क्या होगा, मतलब
मुझे नहीं मालूम.
योद्धा तो ये तो युद्ध से आया ना, वैसा
फाइटर नहीं, प्राइज फाइटर. प्राइज फाइटर.
चलो, हर हर महादेव. हर हर महादेव.
महादेव.
So what is the yogic part of yogic martial art, Ashtanga Yuddha, that you are teaching, no? Yeah. Can you show like physically what are you doing, and what have you taught in the past, like to people?
I mean, it's more than showing. First I'll explain to you that we are the only species that has to learn how to fight. The rest invoke, and it naturally is. So my martial art invokes that natural instinct in you. So I watch my students how they naturally move, and I give them techniques as per that. And remember, this is not to fight competitively. This is for the street, regular. So a yogi moves with a kamandal and a yoga danda. So that's the dharana I take. So to keep the water balance, how would you move?
So it's that like way. If I am holding a kamandal here, like,
yeah, and you have your yoga danda on the other hand.
Yoga danda in the other.
This is one of many dharanas.
Is it yoga danda only?
So this is one.
Keep it here.
Yeah, so this is one of many dharanas. I'm just giving you an example.
This is also a dharana only, like holding mic. Holding mic dharana. Because I have to be consciously aware, like, okay, this has to be a certain place. Like that only, like water, I have to be aware, like it's not falling.
Yeah, exactly.
So then how do you process from there? Like?
So this gives you, the kamandal gives you the movement, the footwork. Okay.
So this you associate with this muscle movement. Like
yeah, all hip connected to.
So this is how you connect to mind through your connecting?
Yeah, mind is already, with the training, it will be connected. There's a process to get here. So that we'll explain later. But the end result is this.
How much is left? 122. Okay, so can you show us like also like your students that you have, no? Like
one's a little busy right now.
One's a little busy. Busy students, yeah.
Okay, so for example, in a normal situation, remember once again, this is not for competitive fighting. This is for Indian day-to-day life.
Okay.
So if he's attacking me and I see
Now show that only. The Kamandal and that Dharna, how will you use it? Like,
that's after I activate. I won't stand like that.
okay.
It will initiate in me, in the movement. So in the beginning, I'm standing like this. So in America, we do it like this. Here, we can culturally keep our hands here. So in Namaste, how would you defend yourself? Because you cannot walk around like this. So attack me. See? Things like that.
So how did that Hana help you in like doing this?
This is a technique. So I'm being submissive. He's being punished for attacking me.